Hi everybody, my name is Ixie, and welcome back to my channel where I analyze Nine Inch Nails music, and I am so excited. I'm very excited to be analyzing various methods of escape. There's just so much going on with the production, and I was just totally geeking out about it, and I wanted to cover everything. So I have 3 pages of notes. This video is going to be long, I just know it, so let's get right to it. So this song is definitely different than a lot of Nine Inch Nails music, but it is still very, very, very Nine Inch Nails. First, let's talk about kind of what's different about it. So I'll do that by making a proclamation. Various Methods of Escape is very groovy. It's groovy, it's psychedelic. I think the bass line and the rhythm guitar make it very psychedelic, and the groove makes it groovy. The drum groove reminds me of trip hop, and trip hop is like psychedelic hip hop. It has influences from soul, from funk, from psychedelic rock, from blues, but also from electronica. If you don't know what I mean by trip hop, then I recommend you check out Massive Attack. So the intro, I experience a sense of rhythmic displacement. There's no drums, it's just the bass line and this sort of repeating. The piano's on the downbeats, the bass line is very syncopated. There's no drums, so there's no downbeat. So it's really hard to tell if the bass line's syncopated with the piano on the downbeats, or if the piano is syncopated with the bass line on the downbeats. To this day, I still can't hear it correctly. I always hear it as the piano being on the offbeats, being syncopated, but it's not. So once the drums come in, then you're like, oh. Even knowing the song very well and what's going to happen, it's just something that my brain does. But I like that. I'd be curious to know if you hear it that way, or if you do hear the piano on the downbeats. And I can't help but wonder though if that was in any way intentional. As a musician myself, I love playing with people's expectations and I like throwing people off. I could totally see Trent being one of those people. And then the groove comes in, and this groove is syncopated. The kick is very syncopated. Dun, 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 dun. Da, 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 da. There's like a lot going on in that kick. And a little production note, there's a lot of high end in that kick, so it's a little bit clicky. So you almost get like a percussive quality to it that's beyond it just being a foundational piece of the drum kit. Now this groove swings a little bit. And what do I mean by that? If you take a measure that's in 4/4, which this song is in, and you subdivide it, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So I went from quarter notes to eighth notes to 16th notes. You take those 16th notes and you lengthen the first one, then you have to shorten the next one, and then you lengthen the next one and shorten it. So you end up with da 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 versus da 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 da. So you can swing something really hard, like da 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 da, or you can swing it just a little bit. And I would say that this is a light swing, but swinging adds even more syncopation. Okay, so now let's talk about the first verse. To me, the verse feels kind of like a high. It's just very psychedelic, this slow groove. It kind of feels good. So I already kind of talked about the drums, but another thing to note is that you have hi-hats on the offbeats. So that's going the whole song, and that adds another level of syncopation. A lot of dance music has hi-hats on the offbeats. Disco has hi-hats on the offbeats. I say hi-hats. I'm developing an accent. There's also like a drum fill at the end of the phrase where it goes like. I like that fill. It's interesting, it's engaging. It's also an example of what I would consider like ear candy, which the song has a ton of. Like little interesting bits and pieces of things that kind of just come in and out. Sometimes they only come in once and never come back, and it keeps your interest. So I think this song is an F Dorian with the occasional Picardy third, which is like a minor scale but with one change. If it were minor, my favorite mode. So you have a raised 6th degree, and that makes things sound a little bit more open, like light is coming through a dark corridor of trees or something. Now the bass line is awesome, and it's a little hard for me to hear exactly what it's doing because it's very low and it's very bloopy. It doesn't have the sharpest attack, so things are a little bit ambiguous. It sounds to me like it is also syncopated. That's the main emphasis. There's a lot of cool little bloops and stuff happening, but that's like the main thing is 1E, 2E, 3E. But it's also doing some other stuff. It's definitely going up to the octave. I think it's sometimes going to the flat 7. Definitely doing this. And even at the very end of the whole phrase. Now, I wouldn't say that there's really any harmonic movement in the verse. It's just the bass line, the drums, and his voice with some little ear candies. There's no rhythm guitar, there's no synth pad. So it kind of feels like we just exist in F. We do get like the 7th degree and this, but those to me feel more like embellishments. They don't feel like actual chord changes. It's all relative though. It's kind of bluesy. We're missing a couple notes. These two. You could argue, though, that it's sort of implying like that sounds like psychedelic rock to me. So here's what his vocal melody is doing. So he's starting on the supertonic, which is the 2nd degree of the scale. This is 1, this is 2. So that kind of gives this expanded, suspended feeling right off the bat. Then we come to home. The edginess of that minor 7th, and the curiosity of the major 6th, ending on the 5th, which is very stable. There's that 7th again, tonic. Little kind of trill. Essentially, he's going up and down the scale, but just the top part. And that's the most mystical part of Dorian, in my opinion. Do you recognize this rhythm? Maybe. Or it's a great rhythm. Short, long, short, long, short, long. I think it lends itself really well to lyrics because I feel like it mimics human speech really nicely, at least English, with the emphasis on the 2nd syllable. If anyone's out there like a linguist, then you can kind of tell me what that's called. Is that what iambic is? Construction of the highest quality, the pieces of the plan. And this rhythm is very syncopated. I've talked about it in Zero Sum and All the Love in the World, but it's basically and a. Both and are offbeats. So I mentioned a Picardy third. A Picardy third is when you resolve, meaning you arrive on a major third instead of the minor third, which is in the key. And I will point out the moments where he does that. He does it twice, I'm pretty sure. And the reason that's important is that the major third and the minor third of the key you're in, it's very influential on the tone and the mood of the song. Nobody listening. Normally he would have just gone, nobody listening. Now he goes, nobody listening. That is such a Nine Inch Nails thing, is to have these major tonalities when you don't expect them. Okay, so there's an effect on his voice, and there are often effects on his voice, especially during the verse, and I don't know what they're called, but it's some kind of filter that makes him sound a little bit muffled, like it just kind of tones down the high end a lot, so it sounds almost lo-fi. This one has some crazy filter on it. It's like it's being filtered through a note or a harmonic, and it's F. Let's listen to it for a second. You'll hear that there's sort of this reflection of this F with every note he's singing, even though he's not singing F. Well, sometimes he is, but even when he's not, you hear like this F feeling. Extraction of the highest quality. The blood from my own hand. Do you hear that? Got a lot of emphasis on F in the bass line, and we had that piano in the intro, which I think maybe went away. Now you still have F kind of ringing in his vocal melody. To me, this has the effect of a drone without actually having a drone, which would just be like one note with no interruption, just going and going, going forever. So it's like everything is related to the drone. Everything is like reaching up and then, but it's coming down. It's elastic, it's attached. So you're like moving, but you're stuck. F. Okay, so on top of the vocals is something that I call spider webs. I don't know exactly what it is, but it sounds like maybe a synth or maybe it was an instrument sampled and then reversed. Very, very high, and they kind of come in and out, and at first they're like something like that. You hear that? So if you consider this spider web important harmonically, which I kind of do, then we have a minor third. And these spider webs do some other cool things right before the chorus comes in. Combination of this drone feeling with these spider webs and the kind of like, yeah, trippy like feeling reminds me a lot of that Beatles song, Tomorrow Never Knows. One of my favorites. It's super weird. It is not dying. That's in Mixolydian though, anyway. But yeah, just to sum it up, the verse does feel like a high. I think we're supposed to feel like disconnected from reality. We're in another place, yet we're like kind of stuck and anchored in this sort of timeless feeling, because I think chord progressions give us a concept of time. There's a lot of other things that give us a concept of time, obviously rhythm and structure and lyrics and everything, but chord progressions too, because it propels you forward, creates points of tension, points of release, and things just kind of, you know, they're going in a direction. You have expectations where things are going to end and begin and return. Second page. Okay, so the chorus. Ooh, chorus is so good. So remember, there hasn't really been any harmonic movement yet, but the chorus delivers. And it's not through the bass line. The bass line stays on F, which I will talk about in just a second. So the rhythm guitar comes in using bar chords, which is the root and fifth and octave typically, no major, minor, third. Here's the tonic. So it starts here. That is satisfying. So what are those chords? Assuming we're in Dorian, those chords would be... Just a quick note about what I like about those chords. What I like about those chords. First of all, I like that it doesn't start on the one chord. This is the one chord. Start on 6. 6 and 1 and 7 and 1 and 6 and 7 and 1 are my favorite combination of chords, especially a minor one with the major flat 6. Oh, I'm going to do a whole video about that at some point. I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I am going to do it. Okay, I will say a little bit. The reason that those chords sound so great together is that they are relative. They share 2 notes, these 2 notes. So things that sound really good in 1 sound great in the flat 6. I gotta let go. I gotta let go. You see? So from the flat 6, we go to the major 4, and that is very bright sounding because normally if this were a minor key, then it would go minor 4, but it's Dorian, so we got that raised 6th degree, which is this D natural. And then we go home. So it takes a little while for us to get home, which I just really like. That creates more tension, more anticipation. And then, because it's Trent, he goes to a flat major 3. He loves flat major 3s. Remember, it's actually not these triads, meaning 2/3 stacked on top of each other. I'm just extrapolating, imagining what the chords would sound like. Like if someone wanted to do a cover of this song and they wanted to play the piano and not play bar chords if they were playing the guitar, they would need to know which chords were major and which chords were minor. But they're bar chords, so there's no major or minor third, and the rhythm is super cool. Well, that was really dorky. Basically, we have groupings of 3. So this is a 3/4. Dun da dun da dun da dun da dun da dun. If I count that in 3, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 dun da dun da dun da dun da, kind of gets out of sync because you have 3 and 4. Just mathematically, they don't line up. They do line up eventually, but it takes a while. So instead, he's going dun da dun 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 dun. Okay, now we're back, right? What I love about that is it makes the harmony feel like it's moving in 3 as well. Things are moving a little later or a little earlier than you expect. It's not squared off. It's very fluid. And they really emphasize this guitar. I mentioned the bass line is just basically staying on F. Now, I love that. I don't know what genres that come from, but I kind of feel like maybe funk, where like the bass line is really got a mind of its own. I mean, it's still providing structure, but it's also so melodic and percussive. And so you have the F, but on beat 1 of the beginning of the phrase, no bass. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of giving us this like breath at the very beginning when you don't expect it, when you're wanting something to be concrete. And so what's the effect of having a bass line just kind of staying on the tonic when there's clearly harmonic movement now? The rhythm guitar is making that very, very obvious. I feel like, again, you get a kind of a drone feeling from this. All the chords are in relationship. I mean, they always are in relationship to the tonic, but this is just making it so much more impossible to ignore. But it makes it so funky. Okay, and now his vocals. So first of all, the effect that I was talking about is gone. So his voice sounds very present, very clear. This happens gradually and right where it belongs, but I know that it happens in other songs like maybe The Great Below. And I think that it's so noticeable because the chorus has a very different feeling all around. To me, the verse is, a state of being high, hallucinating, in some ways a little bit numbed out. And then the chorus is him breaking out of it, sobering up and being like, I've got to stop this. So to have his voice become very clear, it makes a lot of sense. Like, I gotta let go. I gotta get straight. Vocal clarity, mental clarity. This melody is so good. I gotta let go. I gotta get straight. Why'd you have to make it so hard? Let me get away. So now in the chorus, he's singing the minor third. There it is. Fourth, fifth, minor third. And that's the main thing. I gotta let go. I love that harmony. Fifth, seventh, minor third. The same note. Why'd you have to make... He goes into his falsetto. I love his falsetto. It's so beautiful. He's like singing very much in the chords. Why'd you have to make it? Except there. Oh, that's a tritone. Why'd you have to make it so hard? Oh, yes, ninth or second. Very satisfying when we get here. Why'd you have to make it? I love that. Almost like this note is like overreaching or overextending or suspension. But what he resolves to is very dissonant. Make it so, and then it gets much more structural. Hard, so hard, 5-1. I think the minor third is kind of the defining note of his vocal melody for the chorus, which is totally absent in the verse. And you might think that's a silly little detail, doesn't matter. It matters to me because I think thirds are very expressive. Hallucinated high fidelity, pieces of a plan. Have that be kind of all in that mystical range. It's sort of dreamy, things are a little bit more open than normal. And then to have, I gotta let go. It's so much more straightforward. I gotta get straight. Oh, and yeah, just the rhythm. Now it's, I gotta let go. So I think that those things matter because whether or not it was like Trent sitting here being like, well, now I'm gonna play the minor third so that people know that I'm not high anymore. I highly doubt it. But subconsciously, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Why'd you have to make it so hard? Let me get away. I also really like that he's talking to his drugs, that sort of personification of his addiction. There are some other vocals in the chorus, and that's the harmony. So he's singing the melody that the lead guitar is playing, and that is... starting on the tonic, flat 7, raised to the 6th. The guitar's just playing like these kind of long, languishing notes that change on the offbeats though. Vocally, he's going, ooh. The oohs and ahs feel kind of retro to me. Also, he doesn't sing the vocal harmony like the 3rd time, I think. So it's like, ooh, ooh, make it so hard, let me get away, ooh. It's just cool, it adds variation. Okay, so there's something else happening, and I would call these piano octaves, but it's definitely a sample. Like, it sounds like it's been processed a lot. It doesn't sound like him just playing the piano, and it's being looped. A little touch, but it adds so much. I love that part. It really just brings a new texture, and I love the little like octave bass note. It's just very tinkly, you know, kind of gentle. The song would not be as good without it. I'm just gonna say it. Before we get to the next verse, there's like an interlude. It's sort of giving us a second to breathe. It's like a pre-verse, kind of. It doesn't have any vocals, but what it does have is a little plucking melody, and that to me sounds very Nine Inch Nails-y. It's a little hard to hear exactly when the notes change, but that's what it's kind of doing. It's like a drunk going up the scale with this note. Like I just like stumbled. But how this makes it so Nine Inch Nails-y though. Plucking on the 8th notes. There's also sort of this foreboding low, like flat 7 note. Listen. Ear candy. And you got some like crazy effects going on here too that sound more experimental, right? And then they kind of bleed over into the verse. So like the verse is starting and it's still sort of freaking out a little bit and it kind of ends abruptly. There are a couple things about the second verse that are different than the first verse other than the lyrics. And one of those things is a chord that comes in. And I remember when I first heard this song and I heard that chord, I was like, that's got to be Atticus. Like, that does not sound like Trent Reznor to me. And to this day, I don't know how I feel about it. And that's weird because for me, like, I really like those chords. I just don't associate them with Nine Inch Nails. So it goes like this. So to me, this sounds kind of like an F minor sus2, but inverted with the C on the bottom. Meaning this, but with the C down here. Or it could be a C minor sus4, meaning this, like 5-1, 5-1. Kind of just depends on how you hear it. But one thing's for certain is this. This is an inverted F minor chord. And it's so literal. It's just like, yeah, it's like definitely F minor. There's no guesswork. So let's listen. You hear that? It's, yeah, I don't know if I like it. It's pretty, but it's just so like, here you go. There's also like different ear candy. There's like these like, and the drums and zingas. Yummy. Also get like a way funkier like bass guitar. This is just all to add more interest and just to kind of explore. It's great. I love it. The last 2 lyrics before the second chorus, I cannot tell the difference anymore. I cannot trust myself. He changes the rhythm up. Instead of, cannot tell the difference anymore. Cannot trust myself. There's a lot less syncopation. So more on the downbeats, it's more straight. Even though he's high again, this time he's like trying even harder to break out of it, you know, like heading into this point of clarity. Really like drives home this point like, I don't know what's real. I can't trust myself. I know I'm reading too far into this, but it's really fun. And anytime you change something, it emphasizes it. All right, second chorus is pretty much the same as the first chorus, and it kind of starts to feel like it's building a little bit more and then just abruptly falls into this weird bridge limbo. Suddenly everything's very, very straight. It's like it's pulsing. You get a kick, just with the bass guitar, and the chord progression's different. We were here, and then we were doing this, and this, and this. So we got... One. I think I could lose myself in here. The harmonies and the melodies, though, are really strange. Instrumentation is odd. I don't know exactly what these sounds are. It sounds like samples of a very wooden instrument that doesn't have a very defined tonality. So it's kind of ambiguous what notes are even being played at all. I hear like a metallic bell sound that's going... But the piano makes it sound very clear. The piano's harmonics are not nearly as crazy as this bell. The pitch is just a little bit like, almost sounds like it's out of tune. And then what's underneath it is this, and I hear like these pitches, flat 7, 1, kind of. But there's like There's a lot happening in between there that it doesn't sound like a note to me. It sounds like a percussive instrument with a little bit of a pitch. And this pattern, this is in 7, but it's 7 16th notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gosh, that's hard. So that's disorienting as heck. And it never lines up. He doesn't even it out. It's just kind of going. So this is a really strange bridge to me. Like it always felt a little out of place, but I do recognize that compositionally it's important that they break it up somehow, and this feeling of limbo may be really important to the narrative. I think I could lose myself in here. Like he could so just let go and fall into it, or he could let go of it, and then that wailing guitar, it slowly fades in. It's like it's trying to pull him back into reality, into clarity. And there's one variation. And his voice, has effects on it and starts to fade away. I think I could lose myself in here. And then we're just like thrown into this like pseudo chorus, but something is very, very different about it. First of all, there's no vocal melody at first, and the drum beat is completely different. This is like classic 9 Inch Nails rock drum beat. There's like lots of toms. Think every day is exactly the same. It's very satisfying, I find it. Like, yeah. Symbolically, I don't know if that meant anything, or he likes to just be like, well, it's the end of the song and I'm just gonna play. What it would sound like with this drum beat. What would it sound like if I made it sound like a gospel song, like as in All the Love in the World? He just, whatever. He does whatever he wants, I think. And then when he starts singing again, he's singing the chorus, and that's how he leads us out of the song. But there's a difference. He's singing a different melody. I don't know the lyrics. Okay, so what is that? 5th degree, 7th degree, and the tonic. So this is so much more definitive than I gotta let go. Even though go is the minor third, which is a very defining note of the scale, nothing is more defining than the tonic. And he's leading us there with the 5 and the 7. They're both kind of like pushing you towards one. And because it's higher in his range, of course, he's having to belt more. There's just so much more energy. And there's like a delay on his voice. Find another way. So epic. Why'd you have to make it so hard? Just like normal. Let me get away. Okay, we gotta talk about this away. Way. That is a major 7th. So there's so much tension there. Let me get away. Do you hear that? It's just a stylistic choice. I love it. That's like one of my favorite parts. Let me get away. Yes. And then he sings this whole thing again. I think the lyrics change again, And then at the very end, he goes down to a lower part of his range in the part of the chorus that he hasn't before. Usually he goes, why'd you have to make it so hard? In his falsetto, why'd you have to make it so hard? Let me get away. Nice resolution. Also, I don't really get a resolution from this 3-chord. Make it so hard, let me get away, way. That's it. I feel like I did forget something. Something about hi-hats, like there's more hi-hats on the second chorus to give more energy. Anyway, this song is amazing. I love it. I also really like that the title is not a lyric from the song. He usually titles things with words or lyrics in the song, but this one's not like that. Well, I think that is all I have to say about this song. I really do think that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Hi to all the new subscribers. Like this video if you liked this video. And if you want to connect with me on Instagram, I'm at ixie.music. You can see more about me, other things that I play that's not Nine Inch Nails. I know, boring, right? I want to start teaching music theory. So thank you for your enthusiasm. It's amazing. Share the channel with people who you think might like it. And I will see you next week. Bye. Okay. Let me try that again. Hi everybody, my name is Ixie and welcome back to my channel where I analyze Nine Inch Nails music. And today I'm very excited.